Before the Boston Three Party in 2008, before the Heatles in 2010, there was almost a big three that came together in the summer of 2000 in Orlando. The 2000 NBA free agent class was loaded with talent. There was talent across the board in this class. But there were three guys at the top that separated themselves from the pack, the ones that could help a franchise get over the top. Tracy McGrady was coming off his best season as a pro in his third season with the Toronto Raptors. Him and Vince Carter helped the Raptors become a surprise story during the 99-2000 season. While Vince Sanity took off and became a superstar, T-Mac was making his case for being an up-and-coming star in this league. Vince Carter obviously got the headlines, but NBA executives around the league knew that McGrady was just scratching the surface of his God-given ability. T-Mac was 6'8" with a crazy 7'2" wingspan, and was almost just as athletic as his cousin Vince. He could handle the rock, he had a silky smooth jump shot, and he could defend. He only averaged around 15 points that year, but there were certain games where he looked like a legit all-star at the age of 21. While McGrady was on track to becoming a star, the other two top free agents were already there, Grant Hill and Tim Duncan. There was a time before Kobe Bryant and LeBron James when Grant Hill was thought of to be the next Michael Jordan. Him and Penny Hardaway were the main two players in the league in the 90s that had the talent and skill set to go toe-to-toe with the great Michael Jordan. Grant Hill made the All-Star team every year when he was with the Detroit Pistons. The only time he didn't was during the NBA lockout in '99 when the NBA didn't have an All-Star game. It was coming so easy for Grant Hill during the late 90s. He was dynamic. He had the quickness, the size, the high basketball IQ, the passing ability, and the athleticism to impact the game in so many ways. His first 6 seasons in the NBA were flawless, and he looked like he was on track to being an all-time great. Before the 2000 NBA free agency, Grant Hill was coming off a season where he averaged almost 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, and him and Jerry Stackhouse led the Pistons to the playoffs and played in the first round against the Miami Heat. That was the series where Grant Hill significantly injured his ankle that caused him to have ankle surgery before NBA free agency. Tim Duncan was already a superstar in his third season. He might not have had a superstar personality or a flashy style of play, but he was a legit franchise player. At that time, he was already an NBA champion and was selected to the All-NBA first team in each of his first 3 seasons, which is unheard of in NBA history. You're probably asking yourself, how were players like McGrady and Tim Duncan, who were both drafted in 1997, able to become unrestricted free agents after their rookie contracts? Restricted free agency was eliminated in 1995. There was a 3-year rookie wage scale at the time, and you became an unrestricted free agent after those 3 years. Orlando would have never had a legit chance to sign T-Mac or Tim Duncan in today's NBA. There were so many missed opportunities for the Orlando Magic franchise. Before even getting to this point, the Magic looked like they were on the verge of starting a dynasty. Penny Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal were one of the best duos in the league. 2 superstars that could challenge Michael Jordan and the Bulls in the mid to late 90s. But the Magic front office dropped the ball. Instead of offering Shaq the contract he deserved, they decided to give him a low-ball offer, which was 4 years, $54 million. You had lesser players like Alonzo Mourning and Juwan Howard getting $100 million deals. Not only did the team disrespect Shaq with their first offer, but they even came out publicly and criticized Shaq's rebounding and defense, which was strange when you're trying to secure one of the best players in the NBA. And you could have made the case that Shaq was the second best player behind Michael Jordan. O'Neal had every intention to sign back with the Orlando Magic, but the Magic did everything they could not to sign him. And Shaq went on to sign a 7-year, $120 million contract with the Los Angeles Lakers. Everything went downhill for this team from that point forward. Penny Hardaway was held back by injuries, and there were questions about his lack of toughness and his ability to be the leader that the Magic needed. They were able to make the playoffs a couple of times after Shaq left, but they were never really a threat to make a deep playoff run. Penny Hardaway's last season with the Magic was in 1999, when he actually led the Magic to the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. But they went up against a rising superstar in Allen Iverson and the 76ers. This young 76ers team looked like the superior team, and the Magic lost the series 3-1. During the summer of 1999, the direction of the franchise changed dramatically. The GM John Gabriel decided it was time to break up the core of this team and clear up cap space for the following summer when players like Duncan, Hill, McGrady, and others would be available. Legendary head coach Chuck Daly was the Magic head coach for 2 seasons and decided to retire on May 24, 1999. The team decided to bring in a rookie head coach in Doc Rivers. Not only did the roster change, but so did the coaching staff. The first draft pick in franchise history was Nick Anderson. He was part of the core that went to the NBA Finals in 1995. He was traded to the Sacramento Kings for guard Tariq Abdul-Wahed and a future first-round pick. And Anderson was in his 3rd season of a 4-year contract that paid him more than $24 million. Horace Grant was traded to the Seattle Supersonics for 2 second-round picks and a couple of veterans. And last but not least, the Penny Hardaway trade. The Magic finalized a sign and trade that would send the once beloved Hardaway to the Phoenix Suns, where he would team up with the great Jason Kidd in the backcourt. The Magic received 2nd-year player Pat Garrity and 2 future first-round picks. And 2 years prior to that, Dennis Scott had issues with the organization in the summer of 1997, and he eventually got traded before the season started to the Dallas Mavericks. It was officially the end of an era where they never reached their full potential. With the players that were left on the Magic, it seemed like it was no way that this team would win more than 15 games during the 99-2000 season. You had a bunch of no-names at the time, and they were being led by a rookie head coach. The outlook for that season didn't look too good. The roster included players like Darrell Armstrong, Bo Outlaw, Michael Doliak, Corey Maggette, Pat Garrity, and believe it or not, future Hall of Famer Ben Wallace was on this team. And also the current Phoenix Suns head coach Monty Williams was also. This team was full of role players that played every game like it was their last. They had the type of players that you would love to surround superstars with, like the ones that were going to be free agents in the summer of 2000. How was this team able to compete every night and stay in the playoff hunt all season? 2 words, heart and hustle. That's what it was all about. The Magic played with high intensity for 48 minutes. Darrell Armstrong was the guy that was used to coming off the bench as Penny Hardaway's backup for years. But that year, he was the leader of the team. What he lacked in size, he made up for with heart, determination, and athleticism. He squeezed every ounce of talent and potential he had and displayed consistency on a night-to-night basis. Ultimately, the Magic finished the season 41-41 and missed the playoffs by 1 game. This was probably Doc Rivers' best job as a head coach in his career. He proved to the league he could be that guy, and he was named Coach of the Year at the end of the season. It was a season that the Magic could use to try to lure big names in the upcoming free agency. This was what the Magic had been waiting for, a chance to get back to the top of the Eastern Conference, an opportunity to make up for the failures of not re-signing Shaquille O'Neal in 1996. The team had cleared a massive amount of cap space where they could find a way to sign the big 3 free agents that year. The team was set to offer 2 max deals to Duncan and Hill, with enough room to still offer a good deal to up-and-coming star Tracy McGrady. The Magic hosted Duncan and Hill first, and those 2 actually had the same agent, Lon Babby. The Orlando Magic put on a presentation for the ages. From private access to Disney World, to a golfing demonstration with the one and only Tiger Woods, to enjoying rides at the Magic Kingdom, to Epcot putting on a fireworks show that had Duncan and Hill's names bursting into the sky. They went all in with this one. Grant Hill signed immediately with the Magic just days after his Orlando trip. Tim Duncan had canceled a flight to San Antonio to stay in Orlando a little longer. He wanted to explore the city of Orlando a little more. Everything seemed like it was on the right track for the franchise. Duncan fell in love with the city, and he loved the idea of playing alongside Hill and McGrady. Duncan's inner circle, including his agent and personal assistant, informed the Magic that Duncan's signing was imminent, In Duncan's mind, he had already made his decision. He was going to sign with the Orlando Magic. It was basically a done deal. Now, there have been a lot of stories to come out over the years that it was mainly Doc Rivers' fault why Tim Duncan changed his mind about signing with the Magic. Doc Rivers explained his version of the story to TNT's Ernie Johnson earlier this year.
And then you got a chance to get Tim Duncan.
Oof.
And so, honestly, I know you got rules, but apparently the rule about the team charter is for the team. It's not for wives and girlfriends and kids. And that didn't sit well with Tim Duncan. I mean, do you think if you had said, no, we can bend that rule, or we can,
that story's not told correctly, because it's true. Tim, we talked about it, and I actually told him, absolutely, families can fly, not all the time, but families can fly, every once in a while. So that story's not told correctly. As a matter of fact, what I remember the most about that was Tim Duncan looked at me and said, I'm pretty sure that I'm actually coming to the Magic. I just need to go back to San Antonio because I love Pop. And I want to have my last meeting with Pop. And so it's funny, I want to say it's John Calipari, but I'm not sure, because I called a lot of coaches during this time, college coaches, because they recruit, that's their jobs. And I think it was Cal. I called him after Tim left, and he said, did you get him? And I said, yeah, it looks like we got him. He wanted to go back and talk to Pop and David. He said, well, you just lost him. He's like, we have one rule. You don't let the kid leave campus without signing him.
I believe the Magic and Doc Rivers should have pushed Tim Duncan a little more to sign on the dotted line before he left Orlando. Don't even give Greg Popovich and David Robinson a chance to save the day for the Spurs. Robinson actually flew home early from his vacation and convinced his teammate to stay. It all worked out for the Spurs, and the Magic were left with another heartbreaking reality that this was the second potential dynasty that the organization let slip out of their hands. The Magic ended up giving T-Mac the max deal they were going to offer Tim Duncan, but all indications were that McGrady would have signed for less had the Magic signed Tim Duncan. Not closing the deal on Tim Duncan was just as big as the franchise not re-signing Shaq back in 1996. This wasn't a fantasy or a pipe dream for this team. All three players wanted to play for the Magic. Everything was lined up perfectly. They were at the finish line. All they had to do was close the deal. They should have did whatever they could not to let Tim Duncan leave without signing the contract, period. Now the franchise is left wondering, what if? Like I mentioned earlier, Grant Hill had ankle surgery before free agency, but it didn't necessarily happen in the playoffs. The pain started much earlier in the season. Grant Hill believed that the Pistons medical staff misdiagnosed his ankle injury, and the team initially ruled it as a bone bruise, but it was way more than that. And Hill wanted to eliminate criticism by being able to play through injury and avoid people around the league saying he's taking it easy while he's on the last year of his contract. He ended up making his injury so much worse in the playoffs against the Miami Heat. I really believe the presence of Tim Duncan, along with T-Mac, would have kept Grant Hill from coming back so soon. The Magic team with McGrady and no Grant Hill or Tim Duncan was a mediocre team. Grant Hill had to feel pressure to come back as soon as possible to save the team from digging a potential hole where they could possibly miss the playoffs. If Duncan is on this team with T-Mac, they would have more than likely gotten off to a good start and be at the top of the Eastern Conference throughout the season. It would have been no reason to rush Hill back at that point. He could have taken his time and let his ankle heal properly. Imagine if you had those three guys on the team. Even if Grant Hill would have been a little less than the player he was in Detroit, they still would have been a hell of a team. The role players they could have surrounded them with were Armstrong, Bo Outlaw, Garrity, Monty Williams, and their 5th overall pick that year, Mike Miller. As part of the Chris Webber-Penny Hardaway trade in 1993, the Magic landed Golden State's first-round pick in 2000. Now, the 2000 NBA draft is regarded as one of the worst drafts in NBA history. But Mike Miller was one of the good ones in that draft. He was exactly the type of player that could thrive around star players like Duncan, Hill, and McGrady. Someone who was a knockdown shooter from mid-range and from beyond the arc. Someone who could also put the ball on the ground and make plays for others if needed. Miller was a high IQ guy who had a good feel for the game. He was a role player that a possible super team like the Magic needed. Someone who knows his role and would do anything he's asked to do by head coach Doc Rivers. The Magic would have dominated the East with Duncan on the squad. Tracy McGrady was in his athletic prime, and he was at his best when he played with the Orlando Magic. But he started having back problems when he was playing with the Houston Rockets. McGrady had everything working in his first year with the Magic. There wasn't any spot on the court where he couldn't score. He could give it to you from the inside and the outside. He could get to the free throw line, he could post up, and he could definitely play above the rim. He averaged 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists that year, on his way to winning the Most Improved Player award. So his production was obvious that year. Imagine if Tim Duncan was there to give T-Mac that support he needed. McGrady's numbers might not have been quite the same, but it would have been much easier for him on a night-to-night basis. A presence like Tim Duncan automatically makes it easier for players around him to flourish. Instead of T-Mac spending so much energy taking a lot of shots every night, Tim Duncan could have eased the burden that T-Mac had to carry without another reliable superstar. Duncan could have extended T-Mac's prime and maybe could have avoided those back injuries. And Grant Hill could have came back at the proper time and been the third option on the team, and it would have been so much easier for him to get back into the flow of things when you have McGrady and Tim Duncan carrying the load. The Eastern Conference was theirs for the taking for the next 4 or 5 years. The only team that could have matched them talent-wise was Kobe and Shaq. There was nobody in the East that could match this team's talent level if they had Duncan, McGrady, and Hill. Nobody. Allen Iverson was the only superstar on the 76ers team that went to the finals in 2001. And Jason Kidd was the only superstar on the Nets team that made it to the NBA Finals 2 years in a row in 2002 and 2003. Without Duncan on the Spurs, it could have been the Magic and the Lakers in the NBA Finals for at least 3 years in a row. Now the Lakers will more than likely still have the edge in that matchup. But there's no doubt that the Orlando Magic would have had a great chance to win against the Lakers. They would have had a way better chance than the Nets or the 76ers ever could have. It was a foregone conclusion that the Lakers were going to win a championship once they got to the NBA Finals. That would not have been the case if the Big Three in Orlando was matching up against them on the other side. It would have been a battle for sure. The Tracy McGrady-Kobe Bryant matchups was always legendary. It was one of the best matchups in the 2000s. Kobe and T-Mac always had mutual respect for one another. But it could have been more than just a great individual matchup. With Tim Duncan on the Magic, it could have also been a great team matchup. This opportunity was so close to happening for the Orlando Magic. But much like most of their history, they seem to always have a knack for just falling short. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, do it right now for future NBA content.